The cold antiseptic smell of the oncology ward had become my second home over the past 3 months. I sat in the familiar vinyl recliner, the IV needle already inserted into the port in my chest, waiting for the poison that would hopefully save my life to begin its slow drip. My husband Marcus stood by the window, his back to me, phone pressed to his ear as he conducted yet another business call. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. He didn't know I could hear him. Yeah, the doctors are saying maybe 6 more months of treatment, Marcus said quietly, his voice just barely carrying over the hum of medical equipment. Then we'll see if it worked. Honestly, man, between you and me, I'm just counting down the days until I'm finally rid of this dead weight. My breath caught. The nurse, Jennifer, who had been checking my vitals, froze mid-motion. Our eyes met, and I saw the flash of shock and anger in her expression before she quickly masked it with professional neutrality. But it was too late. She had heard it too. Before we begin this journey together, I want to take a moment to thank each of you for being part of this incredible community. If you're enjoying these stories of resilience and justice, consider subscribing. It's completely free and helps us build this amazing space where we support each other through life's challenges. Now, let's dive into a story about discovering strength in the darkest moments. Dead weight, I repeated silently in my mind, each syllable cutting deeper than the cancer ever could. After 12 years of marriage, this was how he saw me. Not as his wife fighting for her life, but as a burden he was eager to shed. Jennifer squeezed my hand gently, her touch communicating what she couldn't say aloud in front of Marcus. Then she straightened, her professional demeanor firmly in place. Mrs. Chen, Dr. Morrison wants to see you before we start today's infusion. He said it was important. I nodded, grateful for her quick thinking. Marcus turned from the window, finally ending his call. What's the holdup now? He asked with barely concealed irritation. I have a meeting at 2. Dr. Morrison needs to review some test results, Jennifer said smoothly, her voice betraying nothing. It shouldn't take long. You're welcome to wait in the family lounge. The coffee there is much better than what we have on this floor. Marcus glanced at his expensive watch, a gift I'd given him for our 10th anniversary, back when I still believed he loved me. Fine. Text me when you're done with whatever this is. He grabbed his briefcase and left without a kiss, without a word of encouragement, without even looking at me. The moment he disappeared around the corner, Jennifer's composure cracked. Sophia, I'm so sorry you had to hear that. That man. She stopped herself, shaking her head. Dr. Morrison is actually in his office. I'm taking you there now. What your husband said. Dr. Morrison needs to know. Dr. Richard Morrison had been my oncologist from the beginning, from that terrifying day when a routine mammogram revealed stage 3 breast cancer. He was brilliant, compassionate, and had become someone I trusted implicitly with my life. As Jennifer wheeled me into his office, I saw him look up from his desk, his expression immediately concerned. Jennifer called ahead, he said gently, coming around to take my hand. Tell me what happened. The words tumbled out, each one feeling like a betrayal of the life I'd built, the marriage I'd believed in. When I finished, Dr. Morrison's jaw was tight with controlled anger. Sophia, what I'm about to tell you needs to stay between us for now, he said carefully. Your latest scans came back this morning. The treatment is working better than we hoped. The tumors are shrinking significantly, At this rate, you're looking at a very positive prognosis, possibly complete remission within the next 4 months. The relief should have been overwhelming. Instead, it mixed with a bitter realization that made my stomach turn. "He doesn't know," I whispered. "He thinks I'm dying." "And he's counting on it," Jennifer added quietly, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. Dr. Morrison leaned back in his chair, studying me with those perceptive eyes that had seen countless patients through their darkest hours. "Sophia, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. Do you have access to your financial records, your insurance information, your will?" The question startled me. I'm not sure. Marcus handles all of that. He said I should focus on getting better, that stress would interfere with treatment. Why? "Because in my 30 years of practice, I've seen this pattern before," Dr. Morrison said grimly. "Usually, it's much more subtle. But that comment your husband made, combined with his behavior. Sophia, has he been pushing you to update your will? Make any major financial decisions?" My mind raced backward through the fog of chemotherapy and pain. 3 weeks ago, I said slowly, he brought home papers from an estate attorney, said we needed to make sure everything was in order, just in case. I signed them. I was so tired, and he said it was just standard stuff, making sure he'd be taken care of if... My voice broke. Dr. Morrison and Jennifer exchanged a look that sent chills down my spine despite the warm blanket across my lap. "I have a friend," Dr. Morrison said carefully. "Catherine Wu. She's a forensic accountant and also happens to volunteer with our patient advocacy program. She specializes in helping cancer patients navigate financial abuse. Would you be willing to speak with her?" "Financial abuse?" The words felt foreign in my mouth. "But Marcus loves me. He's just stressed. Taking care of me has been hard on him." Jennifer knelt beside my wheelchair, her eyes fierce and kind at the same time. "Honey, I've been a nurse for 15 years. I've seen stressed spouses. I've seen exhausted caregivers. You know what they don't do? They don't stand in their sick wife's hospital room and tell someone they can't wait to be rid of the dead weight." The truth of her words hit me like a physical blow. How long had I been making excuses for Marcus? How many small cruelties had I overlooked, telling myself he was just tired, just worried, just not good at expressing his feelings? "My treatment sessions are usually 4 hours," I said quietly. "He'll be in the family lounge. Can we call your friend now?" Dr. Morrison was already reaching for his phone. Catherine Wu arrived within 30 minutes, a petite woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a leather portfolio. Dr. Morrison ushered her into his office where I still sat, Jennifer having canceled the rest of her rounds to stay with me. "Mrs. Chen," Catherine began, settling into the chair across from me, "I'm going to ask you some questions that might feel invasive or uncomfortable, but I need you to answer honestly. Everything said in this room is protected by patient confidentiality. Can you do that?" I nodded, my hands twisted together in my lap. "Let's start with the basics. What do you know about your household finances?" "Marcus handles everything," I said. "He's an investment banker. He always said finance was his area of expertise, and I should focus on my work." "And what is your work?" "Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I was a software engineer. I founded a small tech consulting firm about 8 years ago before I got sick. We specialized in cybersecurity for healthcare systems." Catherine's pen paused mid-note. You founded it, so you own it. 51%. Marcus has the other 49. He insisted on being a partner when we got married, said it would help with taxes and liability protection. More notes, faster now. And this firm, what's its annual revenue? I had to think. It had been so long since I'd looked at the books, since I'd been well enough to work. Last I checked, around $3 million, but that was before I got sick. I've been on medical leave for 8 months now. I'm sure it's less. Who's running it in your absence? Marcus hired a management team, said I needed to focus on treatment, that he'd handle everything. Catherine's expression remained neutral, but I caught the glance she exchanged with Dr. Morrison. Sophia, I'm going to be direct with you. Based on what Dr. Morrison has told me and what you're describing now, I have serious concerns. Would you give me permission to do a preliminary financial investigation? I can have some answers within 24 hours. What kind of answers? Whether your assets are where you think they are, whether the papers you signed 3 weeks ago were what your husband claimed they were, whether your company is actually struggling or if someone has been moving money. The room felt too small suddenly, the air too thin. You think Marcus is stealing from me? I think your husband made a comment that suggests he's planning for your death, Catherine said bluntly. And I think we need to find out why he's so confident about that timeline. The implications crashed over me like a wave. The papers I'd signed. The way Marcus had been so insistent about handling everything. The fact that I hadn't seen a single financial statement in months. Do it, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Find out what he's done. Catherine pulled out a tablet and a sheaf of authorization forms. I'll need your signature here and here. This gives me limited power of attorney to access your financial records and business accounts for the purposes of this investigation. Dr. Morrison will serve as the medical witness to your capacity to grant this authorization. My hand shook as I signed, but I got through all 3 forms. One more thing, Catherine said, pulling out her phone. I need you to call your bank right now. Tell them you're concerned about unauthorized access to your accounts. Have them freeze everything except a basic checking account that only you can access. Don't tell them why, just that you want to review all account activity before authorizing any further transactions. Marcus will know something's wrong. Marcus is in a family lounge thinking you're getting chemo, Jennifer interjected. You have 4 hours before he expects you to be done. Make the calls now. She was right. I took the phone Catherine offered. A burner, she explained, since my regular phone was on Marcus's plan and he might be able to access my call logs, and dialed the private banking number I'd memorized years ago, back when I still paid attention to such things. Mrs. Chen, what a pleasure to hear from you, my banker, Robert, said warmly. How are you feeling? I've been better, Robert. Listen, I need you to do something for me, and I need you to do it without asking questions. A pause. Of course. What do you need? Freeze all accounts except my personal checking. I want a complete audit of every transaction over $10,000 for the past 8 months. And Robert? Don't notify any other authorized users on the accounts. This is just for me to review. Another pause, longer this time. Mrs. Chen, I have to ask, are you safe? Is someone forcing you to make this call? The concern in his voice brought unexpected tears to my eyes. I'm safe. I'm with my doctor. I need to know where my money is, Robert. I'll have the freeze in place within the hour and a preliminary audit on your secure portal by end of business today. Mrs. Chen, I'm glad you called. The next call was harder, to my company's accounting department. I'd hired Sarah Chen, no relation, just a cosmic coincidence that had amused us both, as my CFO 6 years ago. She'd been one of my first employees, someone I trusted completely. "Sophia!" Sarah's voice was bright with surprise and worry. "How are you? We've all been so worried." "Sarah, I need you to listen carefully. Don't react. Don't ask why. Just do what I'm about to ask." The brightness dimmed instantly. "Okay, I'm listening." "I need a complete financial audit. Every account, every transaction, every contract signed in the past 8 months. I need to know where every penny has gone and who authorized it. Can you do that without Marcus knowing?" Silence. Then quietly, "Sophia, I've been waiting for you to ask. I've been keeping separate records, just in case. Something's been wrong for months, but you weren't well enough for me to burden you with it. And Marcus kept saying, 'What's been wrong?' My heart hammered against my ribs. He's been moving money. Not stealing exactly, but restructuring things. Changing account authorizations. 3 weeks ago, he brought in new incorporation papers. Said you'd approved making him majority owner since you were too sick to run things. But Sophia, the signature on those papers doesn't look like yours." Catherine grabbed the phone from my hand. "Sarah, this is Catherine Wu, forensic accountant. I'm sitting with Sophia right now. Can you send those incorporation papers to this email address?" She rattled off a secure email. "Don't use company servers. Use a personal account." "Who are you?" Sarah asked, but her typing was already audible in the background. "Someone who's going to make sure your CEO doesn't lose her company. Sending now? Good. Sarah, one more thing. Does the company have a life insurance policy on Sophia?" The question hung in the air like poison gas. "Yes," Sarah said slowly. $5 million. Marcus insisted we take it out last year. Said it was standard for key personnel. The company is the beneficiary, but... Oh God. He restructured the ownership. If Sophia dies and he has majority control, he gets the insurance money and the company," Catherine finished. "Sarah, you've just become a crucial witness. Don't delete anything. Don't modify anything. And if Marcus asks what you're working on, you tell him it's routine audit preparation for tax season. Understand?" "Understood. Sophia, I'm so sorry. I should have pushed harder, should have found a way to tell you." "You're telling me now," I managed. "That's what matters. Sarah, one more thing. How's the company actually doing? Revenue-wise?" A pause. "We're up 40% from last year. That military contract you negotiated before you got sick? It came through. We're projecting $5.2 million for the year." Not struggling. Thriving. And Marcus had told me we were barely hanging on, that my medical bills were draining us, that I needed to focus on getting well and not worry about the business. Catherine took back the phone and ended the call. She opened her laptop, pulled up the email Sarah had sent, and her expression darkened as she scanned the documents. "Dr. Morrison, I need to loop in a colleague. Attorney. This isn't just financial abuse anymore. This is fraud, and possibly something worse." She looked at me, her expression careful. "Sophia, these incorporation papers have your signature, but they're dated 3 weeks ago. Same date as the will your husband had you sign, correct?" I nodded. "The signature is almost perfect. Almost. But there are micro variations that suggest it was traced or copied from another document, then forged." She pulled up another screen. "And look at this. The notary stamp is from a notary whose license expired 6 months ago. These documents are fraudulent." "He's been planning this," I whispered. "How long?" How long has he been planning to... I couldn't finish the sentence. Dr. Morrison moved closer, his hand warm on my shoulder. Sophia, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You are going to survive this cancer. The treatment is working. You're going to be here to see this through, to get justice and to reclaim your life. But we need to be smart about this. I need to see a lawyer, I said. Today, now. Already calling, Catherine said, phone pressed to her ear. Marianne, it's Kate. I need you at County General Hospital, Oncology Ward, Dr. Morrison's office. How fast can you get here? 20 minutes? Perfect. Bill this to my account for now. I'll explain when you arrive. She hung up and looked at me with something like admiration in her eyes. Marianne Chen, yes, I know, another Chen, is the best family law attorney in the state. She's also represented several clients in cases involving financial elder abuse. Cancer patients aren't technically elders, but the legal framework is similar when someone takes advantage of a person's medical vulnerability. What do I do? I asked, feeling the weight of everything crashing down. I go back out there in an hour, and Marcus will be waiting for me. He'll drive me home. I'm living in a house with someone who... My voice broke again. Jennifer squeezed my hand. You don't go back out there. Not today. We admit you. What? Your white blood cell count is low, she said firmly. Your temperature is slightly elevated. You're at risk for infection, and Dr. Morrison has decided you need to be hospitalized for observation and IV antibiotics. It's a perfectly reasonable medical decision. Dr. Morrison nodded. And it's the truth. Your last labs did show some concerning numbers. I was going to discuss home monitoring, but overnight observation is completely justified. It also gives us time to get your legal ducks in a row before you have to face Marcus again. He'll be angry. Let him be angry, Catherine said. Angry people make mistakes, and we're going to need him to make some mistakes if we're going to prove what he's done. A knock at the door made us all jump. Jennifer cracked it open, then stepped aside to let in a tall woman in her 50s, carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my first car. Marianne Chen, she said, extending her hand to me. Kate filled me in on the basics during the drive. I understand you need to protect your assets and possibly your life. Let's start with what evidence we have. For the next 30 minutes, I recounted everything. Marianne took notes in a leather portfolio, occasionally asking sharp questions that cut to the heart of issues I hadn't even considered. The life insurance is particularly concerning, she said finally. Combined with the forged documents and his comment about being rid of dead weight, we have a pattern that suggests intent. The question is whether that intent extends beyond financial harm. You mean whether he's trying to kill me? I said flatly. Marianne didn't flinch. I mean, we need to consider all possibilities and protect you accordingly. The first step is getting you out of that house once you're discharged. Do you have family? Friends you trust? My sister lives across the country. My parents are both gone. Most of my friends... I trailed off, realizing how isolated I'd become during the marriage. Marcus had always found reasons why we couldn't socialize with my colleagues from work, my friends from before we met. He'd said cancer treatment was stressful enough without me having to maintain friendships, that I should save my energy for healing. She can stay with me, a voice said from the doorway. We all turned. Dr. Morrison looked surprised. Evelyn? A woman I'd never seen before stepped into the office. She was probably in her 60s, with steel gray hair and the kind of elegant presence that commanded attention without effort. I'm Evelyn Morrison, she said, looking directly at me. Richard's wife. I've been volunteering with patient advocacy for 20 years, and I have a guest house on our property that's completely separate from the main house. It has its own entrance, kitchen, everything you'd need. And before you say no, consider this. Marcus doesn't know me. He has no connection to me. He won't think to look for you there. Evelyn, Dr. Morrison said quietly, that would put you at risk if this man is... Our property has a security system that could rival Fort Knox. Evelyn interrupted. You insisted on it after that incident 5 years ago, remember? And I'm not some helpless damsel. I was a prosecutor for 30 years before I retired. She smiled at me. I've dealt with worse than one greedy investment banker. The offer was so unexpected, so generous, that I couldn't find words. Think about it, Evelyn continued, settling into a chair as if the matter was decided. You'll need somewhere safe while we sort this out. Somewhere he can't find you, can't pressure you, can't hurt you. The guest house is perfect. You'll have privacy, security, and Richard can monitor your medical needs easily. I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. There's a difference. Evelyn's eyes were kind but firm. Sophia, my sister died from breast cancer 20 years ago. Her husband was wonderful, supportive. Everything yours isn't, but even then, I saw how vulnerable illness made her, how dependent she became. If I can help you avoid being exploited the way countless other vulnerable people have been exploited. She shrugged. Let me help. Marianne nodded approvingly. It's a good solution, actually. Clean break from the marital home while we sort out the legal issues. Sophia, I'm going to recommend we move quickly on several fronts. First, we file for a temporary restraining order based on financial abuse and emotional cruelty. Second, we freeze all joint assets pending a full audit. Third, we invalidate those fraudulent documents. And fourth, she paused, choosing her words carefully, we make sure your medical care continues without any possibility of interference. The last point sent ice through my veins. You think he might try to interfere with my treatment? I think we don't take chances, Marianne said. Dr. Morrison, can you set up protocols to ensure only authorized medical personnel have access to Sophia's medications and treatment plans? Already done, he said grimly. As of right now, Marcus Chen is removed from the authorized contact list for his wife's medical information. He no longer has any say in her treatment decisions. He'll fight that, I said. Let him try, Dr. Morrison replied. HIPAA law is on our side. You're conscious and capable of making your own medical decisions. Unless he has a legitimate power of attorney, which those forged documents don't provide, he has no legal standing. My phone, my real phone, buzzed in my pocket. A text from Marcus. How much longer? Meeting got moved up. Need to leave soon. Everyone looked at the message on my screen. Tell him you're being admitted, Marianne instructed. Keep it brief. Don't give him ammunition. My fingers shook as I typed. Infection risk. Dr. Morrison admitting me for observation. You should go to your meeting. I'll be fine. The response came within seconds. Seriously, this is ridiculous. I'm coming to talk to the doctor. Let him come, Dr. Morrison said. Jennifer, have security standing by. If he becomes aggressive or tries to interfere with care, they're to escort him from the premises. Kate, Marianne, you should probably step into the conference room. Sophia, you're going to be in a hospital bed when he arrives, exhausted from the day. Let me do the talking. They moved quickly, efficiently. Within 10 minutes, I was in a private room, actually connected to an IV, saline, and antibiotics, Jennifer explained, entirely legitimate for my condition. Catherine and Marianne had disappeared. Evelyn stayed, sitting in the visitor's chair like she had every right to be there. "I'm Evelyn Morrison, a patient advocate," she'd explained when I questioned her presence. "If he asks, I'm here to make sure you understand your rights and options. It's completely standard." The door burst open 15 minutes later. Marcus stormed in, his face flushed with anger. He stopped short when he saw Evelyn. "Who are you?" "Evelyn Morrison, patient advocate. And you are her husband." He turned to me, ignoring Evelyn. "Sophia, what is this nonsense? Dr. Morrison said your white cell count is low? Your temperature is barely elevated. This is unnecessary, and I have a very important meeting. Mr. Chen," Dr. Morrison said, entering behind him with Jennifer at his side, "your wife is immunocompromised. Even a slight elevation in temperature combined with low white cells puts her at significant risk for sepsis. I'm not willing to take that chance." "How long?" "At least 48 hours, possibly longer depending on how she responds to treatment." Marcus's jaw clenched. I could see him calculating, weighing his meeting against the optics of leaving his sick wife alone in the hospital. Optics 1. "Fine. I'll cancel my meeting. I'll stay with her." "That won't be necessary," Evelyn said smoothly. "The hospital has strict infection control protocols right now. Only one visitor at a time, and they need to be scrubbed and gowned. As her patient advocate, I'm already set up to stay. You should go to your meeting, Mr. Chen. Your wife will be well cared for." "I don't think that's appropriate. Mr. Chen." "Dr. Yan," Dr. Morrison interrupted, his voice professionally cool. "Mrs. Chen has designated Mrs. Morrison as her patient advocate and primary visitor during this admission. That's her right as a patient. You're welcome to call and check on her condition, but for infection control purposes, we need to limit room access." I watched Marcus's face cycle through emotions: anger, frustration, calculation. Finally, he forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Of course. Whatever's best for Sophia." He approached the bed, and I forced myself not to flinch as he kissed my forehead. His lips were cold. "I'll check in later, sweetheart. Get some rest." Then he was gone, and I could breathe again. "Well," Evelyn said, settling back in her chair, "he's charming." Despite everything, I almost laughed. Jennifer checked my vitals, her movements gentle and practiced. "You did great," she whispered. "Now rest. Really rest. You're safe here." But I couldn't rest. My mind was spinning with everything that had happened in the past few hours. This morning, I'd been a dying woman married to a man I thought loved me. Now I knew I was going to survive, and that the man I'd married had been planning for my death like it was just another business transaction. Dr. Morrison returned an hour later with Catherine and Marianne. They'd been working. "The preliminary findings are damning," Catherine said, opening her laptop. "In the past 8 months, Marcus has moved over $2 million from joint accounts and business accounts into offshore holdings. He's restructured your company ownership, or tried to. Those documents are fraudulent, but he's been operating as if they're legitimate. He's taken out 3 additional life insurance policies on you, all within the past 6 months. Combined payout of $12 million if you die." $12 million. That's what my life was worth to him. Not my smile, not our memories, not the years we'd spent together. $12 million. "There's more," Marianne added. "I pulled court records. He's been married before, twice. Both wives died. One from cancer, one from a car accident. Both times, he inherited substantial assets. The room tilted. You're saying he's done this before? I'm saying we need to investigate further. But Sophia, the pattern is clear. Marcus marries women with assets. Those women become ill or have accidents. Marcus inherits and moves on. Why didn't anyone catch this before? Different jurisdictions, different names in different ways. Marcus Chen, Marcus C. Williams, Mark Chen Williams. He's been careful. And honestly, until now, no one was looking at the pattern. It's only because we started digging immediately that these connections emerged. I felt sick. The papers I signed 3 weeks ago. What did they actually say? Marianne pulled them up on her tablet. You signed over 80% of your company to him. You made him the primary beneficiary of all your assets, including the life insurance policies. You gave him medical power of attorney, which means he could have made treatment decisions for you if you'd become incapacitated. And you updated your will, leaving him everything. But I didn't, I whispered. I signed papers, but they were supposed to be about protecting him if I died, making sure he was taken care of. That's what he told me. That's what he wanted you to believe, Catherine said. But these documents would have effectively transferred everything you own to him. The only reason they haven't been processed yet is that the notary's signature is fraudulent. The bank caught that during their standard verification process and flagged it. That's actually how Robert, your banker, knew something was wrong when you called. He'd been trying to figure out how to reach you without alerting Marcus. Everything Marcus had done, every lie he'd told, every manipulation, it crystallized into a clear, horrifying picture. He hadn't just stopped loving me. He'd been actively planning my death. What do we do now? I asked. Marianne's smile was fierce. Now? Now we build a case that will not only protect you, but possibly put him in prison. We have fraud, we have financial abuse, we potentially have evidence of prior suspicious deaths. I have a contact at the district attorney's office who specializes in financial crimes. With your permission, I'd like to bring her in. There's something else you should know, Dr. Morrison said quietly. I ran additional tests on your medications. The ones Marcus has been picking up from the pharmacy for you, the ones you've been taking at home. The pain medication tested fine. But the anti-nausea medication? It contained a benzodiazepine that wasn't prescribed. Long-term use would cause confusion, memory problems, dependency. He was drugging me, I said numbly, making it easier to manipulate me. That's our theory. We've sent samples to a forensic lab for confirmation. If it tests positive, that's another charge. The door opened and Jennifer poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone here to see Sophia. Says she's her sister? Emma Watson? My heart leapt. Emma's here? But she's in California. I called her, Evelyn said simply. While you were being admitted, told her you needed family. She took the first flight out. And then Emma was there, rushing into the room, her face streaked with tears. Sophia, oh my God, when this woman called and told me what was happening. I couldn't hold it together anymore. I broke down, sobbing in my sister's arms, letting out months of pain and fear and loneliness. Emma held me, stroking my hair like she used to when we were kids, and I'd had a nightmare. I've got you, she whispered. I'm here now, and we're going to make that bastard pay for what he's done. Over Emma's shoulder, I saw the team I'd assembled in just a few hours. Dr. Morrison, who'd refused to let me face this alone. Jennifer, who'd heard Marcus's cruel words and refused to ignore them. Catherine, who'd dropped everything to investigate my finances. Marianne, who was already building a legal fortress around me. And Evelyn, who'd offered her home to a stranger simply because it was the right thing to do. I wasn't alone. I wasn't helpless, and I wasn't dying. Marcus thought he was counting down to my death. What he didn't know was that I was counting down to his destruction. The fight was just beginning, and for the first time in months, I felt something other than fear and exhaustion. I felt angry, and anger, I was discovering, could be a powerful tool for survival. Catherine turned her laptop toward me, and the screen filled with numbers that told a story of systematic theft and calculated cruelty. Emma leaned in beside me, her hand gripping mine tightly as we absorbed what we were seeing. "Your company isn't just surviving," Catherine explained, pointing to the revenue column. "It's thriving. That military contract Sarah mentioned? It's worth $7 million over 3 years. There are 2 other major contracts that came through in the past 6 months. One with a hospital network for cybersecurity upgrades, another with a pharmaceutical company. Total projected revenue for this year is actually $8.3 million, not the $5.2 Sarah initially quoted. She didn't have access to the full picture because Marcus had compartmentalized the financial information. $8 million? I breathed. But Marcus said we were struggling, that my medical bills were destroying us. "Your medical bills are being covered entirely by insurance," Marianne interjected. "Excellent insurance that your company provides. Your out-of-pocket maximum was reached in month 2. Every treatment since then has cost you virtually nothing." The betrayal cut deeper with each revelation. "So when he said I was bankrupting us, he was lying," Catherine said bluntly. "Look here." She pulled up another spreadsheet. "These are transfers from your business accounts to accounts in the Cayman Islands. $2.4 million moved over 6 months in increments small enough to avoid automatic reporting triggers. Individually, none of these transactions would raise red flags. Together, they represent a sophisticated embezzlement scheme." Dr. Morrison leaned against the wall, his arms crossed, his expression dark. "How long has he been planning this?" "Based on the financial trail, at least 18 months, Catherine replied. "The offshore accounts were established before Sophia's diagnosis. He was already setting up the infrastructure to steal from the company. The cancer just gave him an opportunity to accelerate his timeline and add life insurance payouts to the equation. The bastard was ready to kill her whether she got sick or not," Emma said, her voice shaking with rage. "The cancer was just convenient." Marianne pulled out her phone. "I'm calling D.A. Chen now." "Yes, another Chen. It's a common name. She's going to want to hear this tonight. The evidence of premeditation changes everything." As Marianne stepped into the hallway to make her call, Jennifer came in to check my vitals again. "How are you holding up?" she asked gently, wrapping the blood pressure cuff around my arm. "I don't know," I admitted. "I keep thinking I should feel something more. Devastated, heartbroken. But mostly I just feel angry." "Anger is good," Jennifer said. "Anger will keep you fighting. Just let us help channel it productively." She noted my blood pressure and smiled. "Actually, perfect, by the way. For someone who just discovered her husband is a sociopathic thief, you're remarkably stable." "Shock, probably," Evelyn observed from her chair. "It'll hit later. When it does, you'll have people around you to help you through it." Emma squeezed my hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Soph. I'm taking a leave of absence from work. However long this takes, I'm here." "You can't put your life on hold. Watch me," Emma said fiercely. "You're my sister. You fought cancer while living with a monster who was literally betting on you dying. The least I can do is stand beside you while you take him down." Marianne returned, her expression grim but satisfied. "D.A. Chen is on her way. She's bringing a detective who specializes in financial fraud and suspicious deaths. They want to interview you tonight if you're up for it, Sophia." "I'm up for it." "Good, because there's something else." Marianne sat down heavily. "I did more digging into Marcus's past marriages. The first wife, Caroline Williams, died from ovarian cancer 7 years ago. She was 42. She'd been in remission for a year when she suddenly relapsed and died within 3 months." The room went quiet. "And the second wife?" Dr. Morrison asked. "Jennifer Park Chen. Died in a single car accident 4 years ago. She lost control of her vehicle on a clear day, drove off a cliff. The investigation concluded she likely fell asleep at the wheel. She'd complained of exhaustion for weeks leading up to the accident." Catherine's fingers flew across her keyboard. "Exhaustion, confusion, memory problems, the same symptoms that would result from long-term benzodiazepine use." "You think he drugged her too?" Emma said. "Made her crash?" "I think it's a theory worth investigating," Marianne replied carefully. "Both women had substantial assets. Both named Marcus as primary beneficiary shortly before their deaths. And both deaths, while explainable on the surface, have elements that now seem suspicious in light of what we've discovered." I felt cold despite the warm blanket across my lap. How did he get away with it? Different jurisdictions, different names, time between incidents, Marianne explained. Caroline died in Washington State. Jennifer died in Oregon. You're in California. No one was looking at the pattern because no one had reason to connect the deaths. Marcus was careful to wait years between marriages, to appear devastated by each loss, to avoid drawing attention. "Until now," Dr. Morrison said. "Until he got impatient, or greedy, or both." "His mistake was that comment in the hospital," Jennifer added. "If I hadn't heard it, if I'd dismissed it as stress or frustration, he might have gotten away with it again." The weight of that settled over me. How close I'd come to being another name on Marcus's list of dead wives. How close I'd come to dying not from cancer, but from my husband's greed and patience. A knock at the door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Jennifer checked, then admitted 2 women in professional attire. One was Asian, probably in her early 50s, with sharp eyes that took in every detail of the room in seconds. The other was younger, African American, with a detective's badge clipped to her belt. "Sophia Chen?" the older woman asked. "I'm District Attorney Linda Chen. This is Detective Sarah Martinez. We understand you have quite a story to tell." For the next 2 hours, I recounted everything. Every detail of my relationship with Marcus. Every financial decision I could remember. Every strange behavior or comment that now seemed sinister in hindsight. Detective Martinez recorded everything, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Catherine and Marianne provided documentation, bank statements, insurance policies, the fraudulent incorporation papers, evidence of the offshore accounts. When I got to the part about Marcus's comment in the infusion room, D.A. Chen's expression hardened. "And Nurse Jennifer heard this clearly?" "Every word," Jennifer confirmed. "I was standing 3 feet away from him. There's no ambiguity about what he said or the context." "That gives us witness testimony to his intent," D.A. Chen said. "Combined with the financial evidence, the pattern of prior suspicious deaths, and the evidence of drugging." She looked at her detective. Sarah, what do you think? I think we have enough for a search warrant, Detective Martinez replied. We move fast. Tonight if possible. We search the house, seize all computers and financial records, test any medications we find. We also need to interview the notary whose stamp appears on those fraudulent documents. If she didn't actually notarize them, that's forgery. And we need to reopen the investigations into the prior wives' deaths. The pharmaceutical evidence is already at the lab, Dr. Morrison added. We should have results on the contaminated medication by tomorrow morning. D.A. Chen nodded decisively. All right, here's how we proceed. Sophia, you stay here in the hospital, protected and documented. Your medical team continues your care and monitors your condition. We want a paper trail showing you were safe under medical supervision. Marcus doesn't know we're investigating yet, which gives us an advantage. He'll know something is wrong when I don't come home, I said. Let him wonder, D.A. Chen replied. Men like Marcus are used to control. Taking that control away makes them nervous. Nervous people make mistakes. She turned to Detective Martinez. Get that search warrant. I want to be inside that house by midnight. Sophia, I need you to provide a list of everything we should be looking for. Computers, files, medication bottles, anything that might provide evidence. Emma grabbed a notepad from the bedside table, and I began listing everything I could think of. Marcus's home office on the second floor, the safe in our bedroom closet, combination 08-15-2017, our wedding date, the irony of which now made me nauseous, the filing cabinet in the garage where he kept hard copies of important documents, the medicine cabinet in our bathroom where my prescriptions were stored. His laptop, I added. He keeps it in his briefcase, which he takes everywhere. But he has a desktop computer in his office that he uses for personal finances. Phone records, Catherine suggested. We need to see who he's been communicating with. Financial planners, attorneys, anyone who might have helped him set up these schemes. I'll get a warrant for phone records too, Detective Martinez said, typing notes into her tablet. What about cloud storage? Email accounts? He uses Gmail for personal stuff, I said. I don't know his password, but his email is marcuschinvestments@gmail.com for the company. He has a Reynolds Technologies email, but that's monitored by IT. Sarah, my CFO, would have access to all company communications. Catherine was already texting her to preserve any emails from Marcus that might be relevant. As the plans took shape around me, I felt something shift inside. The victim I'd been, the exhausted, confused, manipulated woman who'd signed papers without reading them, was being replaced by someone harder, angrier, more determined. Marcus had counted on my weakness, on my illness, on my trust. He'd made a fatal error in his calculations. He'd underestimated me. What happens after you search the house? Emma asked. When do you arrest him? Once we have the evidence secured and analyzed, we bring him in for questioning, D.A. Chen explained. We'll play it carefully, see if he'll talk, maybe incriminate himself further. Men like Marcus often think they're smarter than everyone else. That arrogance can be useful. And if he runs? I asked. We'll have officers monitoring him, Detective Martinez assured me. From the moment we execute the search warrant, he won't be able to leave the state without us knowing. His passport will be flagged. We're not letting him disappear. Marianne leaned forward. What about civil charges? We need to secure Sophia's assets, invalidate those fraudulent documents, and freeze him out of the company. I'm filing emergency motions first thing tomorrow morning, Marianne said. restraining order on financial grounds, temporary injunction preventing him from accessing any joint accounts or business assets, and a motion to invalidate the fraudulent documents. By noon tomorrow, Marcus won't be able to touch a penny of your money, Sophia." "He's going to fight," I said. "Let him fight," Marianne replied with a cold smile. "Every motion he files, every argument he makes, it's all evidence of his consciousness of guilt. And we have something he doesn't." "What's that?" "The truth, backed by documentation. He's been operating on lies and forgeries. The moment this hits the light, his whole scheme collapses." D.A. Chen stood, gathering her materials. "We'll execute the search warrant at midnight. That gives Marcus enough time to go home, get comfortable, maybe let his guard down. Detective Martinez will lead the search team. By morning, we'll know exactly what we're dealing with." After they left, the room felt quieter but charged with purpose. Emma had stepped out to call her husband and explain why she wouldn't be home for the foreseeable future. Evelyn was making tea in the small kitchenette attached to the room, humming softly. Dr. Morrison checked my IV, his movements practiced and reassuring. "How are you really doing?" he asked quietly. "Not physically, emotionally." I thought about the question. "I keep expecting to break down," I admitted, "to cry or scream or fall apart. But I just feel clear, like I've been moving through fog for months, and suddenly I can see everything." "That's the drugs wearing off," he said. "The benzodiazepines in your system. They've been keeping you confused, compliant. Now that you've been in the hospital, taking only medications I've prescribed, your head is clearing. You're thinking like yourself again." "How long was he drugging me?" "Based on the pharmaceutical analysis, probably 6 months. Since right around when he started moving the money. He needed you confused enough not to notice the financial irregularities, but coherent enough to sign documents when he needed you to." The calculating cruelty of it staggered me. Every pill he'd handed me with a glass of water, every concerned look as he reminded me to take my medication, every moment of tenderness that I'd treasured during my illness, all of it had been part of his plan to rob and possibly kill me. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Still no update from your doctor. Starting to worry. Should I come by?" I showed it to Dr. Morrison. "Tell him you're resting, that the doctor will call him with an update in the morning," he suggested. "Keep him at a distance." I typed the response, my fingers steady. Marcus replied immediately. "Okay. Love you. Get better soon." "Love you," I read aloud, and the words felt like acid. He doesn't love me. He never did. I was just a mark. "Some people are incapable of real love," Evelyn said, returning with tea. "They see other people as objects, resources to be exploited. Your husband is one of those people. The question now is what you want to do about it." "I want him destroyed," I said, surprised by the venom in my own voice. "I want him in prison. I want everyone to know what he did, what he is. I want him to lose everything." "Then that's what we'll make happen," Evelyn said simply, handing me the tea. "Drink this. Earl Grey with honey. It's restorative." Emma returned, her phone clutched in her hand. "Dan says to tell you he's got your back. He's also got lawyers if we need more legal firepower, and he wants Marcus to know that if anything happens to you, he'll have to deal with a very angry brother-in-law who played linebacker in college." Despite everything, I smiled. "Tell Dan thank you. He also says that once you're through this, you and I are taking a vacation. Somewhere tropical with umbrella drinks and absolutely no cell service." "That sounds perfect." The hours ticked by slowly. Jennifer checked on me regularly. Catherine worked on her laptop, building the financial case against Marcus with Sarah's help via encrypted video calls. Marianne drafted legal motions on her tablet. Evelyn read a book but remained alert, ready to help if needed. Emma dozed in the chair beside my bed, her hand still holding mine even in sleep. At 11:45 p.m., Detective Martinez texted Catherine, "Moving in. We'll update when secure." I imagined Marcus at home, probably in his office, thinking he'd successfully manipulated me into signing away my life. Maybe he was already planning how to spend the insurance money. Maybe he was researching his next target, the next successful woman he'd marry and destroy. He had no idea that at that very moment, police officers were approaching our house with a search warrant that would unravel everything he'd built. My phone rang at 12:47 a.m., Marcus's name on the screen. Everyone in the room looked at me. "Answer it," D.A. Chen said. She'd returned to monitor the search. "Put it on speaker. Don't tell him anything about the investigation." I accepted the call, my heart hammering. "Hello? Sophia, what the hell is going on?" Marcus's voice was tight with barely controlled fury. "There are police in our house. They have a warrant. They're seizing my computers, going through our files." "What? Why? What's happening?" "They won't tell me anything. They just keep asking about you, about our finances, about, He stopped abruptly. When he spoke again, his voice was different, calculating. "Sophia, did you do something? Did you call them?" "I'm in a hospital bed, Marcus. I don't understand what's happening." "You're lying. You've been lying. What did you tell them?" D.A. Chen made a cutting gesture across her throat. "End the call." "Marcus, I have to go. The nurse is here, and Don't you dare hang up on me. Everything I've done has been for us, for our future." I ended the call. My hands were shaking. "Did you hear that?" D.A. Chen said into her phone, speaking to someone at the search site. "Everything I've done has been for us. That's consciousness of guilt. He knows we're on to him." Detective Martinez's voice came through the speaker. "We've got the computers, multiple bottles of medication that don't match the labels, and a safe full of documents including life insurance policies and offshore account information. We also found a notebook with what appears to be a timeline. Dates, amounts, planned transfers. He literally documented his own crimes." "Some people are too arrogant to believe they'll ever get caught," D.A. Chen said. She looked at me. "Sophia, we have him. The evidence from this search combined with everything else. He's not walking away from this." The relief was overwhelming. I sagged back against the pillows, suddenly exhausted. Emma wrapped her arms around me, and this time I did cry. Not for Marcus, not for the marriage I'd lost, but for the months of fear and pain I'd endured while living with someone who was actively trying to destroy me. "It's over," Emma whispered. "It's really over." But it wasn't. Not quite. There were still legal proceedings ahead, testimony to give, a trial to endure. Marcus was arrested at 6:00 a.m. the next morning and charged with fraud, embezzlement, forgery, and attempted murder. The investigation into his previous wives' deaths was officially reopened. The story hit the news within days. The investment banker who married 3 wealthy women who conveniently died or nearly died, leaving him their fortunes. Media had a field day. My company's stock value actually increased. Investors apparently appreciated that the CEO was a survivor in more ways than one. True to her word, Marianne moved with legal precision. The fraudulent documents were invalidated. Marcus was frozen out of all company accounts and assets. The divorce proceedings were initiated with grounds of fraud, abuse, and attempted murder. Marcus hired expensive lawyers, but they couldn't overcome the mountain of evidence against him. I moved into Evelyn's guest house after my hospital discharge. She became more than just a safe harbor. She became a friend, a mentor, and the mother figure I'd lost years ago. Dr. Morrison continued my cancer treatment, and the results continued to be positive. By month 5, I was in complete remission. Sarah helped me rebuild the company's leadership structure, implementing safeguards to prevent any single person from ever having that much unchecked financial control again. We hired security consultants to review our cybersecurity protocols. Ironic, since we were a cybersecurity company, but my personal life had proven that sometimes you're too close to see the vulnerabilities in your own systems. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified for 6 hours across 2 days, recounting every detail of Marcus's manipulation and betrayal. Jennifer testified about the comment she'd overheard. Catherine presented the financial evidence. Forensic accountants traced every stolen dollar. The pharmaceutical lab confirmed that my anti-nausea medication had been contaminated with benzodiazepines. Most damning of all was Marcus's notebook, where he documented his plans with chilling detail. "Signing documents next week. Make sure she's sufficiently medicated. Insurance policies need to be maximized before prognosis improves. Delay if necessary. Need to move final assets offshore before treatment ends. Cancer response too positive." He'd written it all down, never imagining anyone would ever see it. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts, Marcus received 35 years for the crimes against me. The investigations into his previous wives' deaths were still ongoing, but evidence was mounting. It looked like he'd be charged with 2 counts of murder. He would likely die in prison. On the day of sentencing, I sat in the courtroom surrounded by my people: Emma, Evelyn, Dr. Morrison, Jennifer, Catherine, Marianne, Sarah, and dozens of employees from my company who'd come to support me. Marcus's family was there too, his parents and brother, looking shell-shocked as they finally understood what their son and brother really was. When the judge asked if I had a victim impact statement, I stood. I'd debated what to say for weeks. In the end, I kept it simple. "Marcus Chen saw me as dead weight," I said, my voice steady and clear. "He saw my illness as an opportunity. He saw my trust as a weakness. He was wrong on all counts. I'm here. I'm healthy. I've rebuilt everything he tried to take from me, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure other people don't fall victim to predators like him. That's my impact statement. I survived, and I'll make sure my survival means something." The judge nodded, visibly moved. Then she sentenced Marcus to the maximum penalty allowed by law. Walking out of that courthouse into the California sunshine, I felt lighter than I had in years. The cancer was gone. Marcus was gone. I was free. "What now?" Emma asked as we stood on the courthouse steps, reporters shouting questions below. "Now?" I smiled, thinking of the foundation I'd started, the Survivor's Shield, dedicated to helping cancer patients identify and escape financial abuse. Thinking of the company that was thriving under my direct leadership again. Thinking of the guest house I'd moved out of last month, into a beautiful apartment downtown that was entirely mine, paid for with money I'd earned. "Now, I live," I said simply. "Really live. On my terms." And that's exactly what I did. Epilogue. 2 years later, I stood in the ballroom of a downtown hotel, surrounded by 200 cancer survivors and their families. The Survivors Shield Foundation was hosting its first annual gala, raising money for legal aid and financial advocacy for vulnerable patients. My cancer remained in remission. My company had just been valued at $50 million. Marcus was in year 3 of his sentence, with additional charges pending for his previous wives' deaths. Both cases had been ruled homicides after forensic re-examination. Jennifer, who'd become a close friend, stood beside me in an elegant navy dress. She'd left the hospital to become the foundation's director of medical advocacy. Evelyn, resplendent in silver silk, chatted with donors. Emma and her husband Dan had moved to California permanently, unwilling to be far away after everything we'd been through. Dr. Morrison took the stage to introduce me, and the crowd quieted. 2 years ago, I overheard a comment that changed the course of one patient's life. Today, I'm proud to introduce someone who took the worst moment of her life and transformed it into hope for hundreds of others. Please welcome Sophia Chen, founder of the Survivors Shield Foundation and CEO of Reynolds Technologies. As I walked to the podium, I thought about that day in the infusion room, the cold fear, the betrayal, the moment when Marcus called me dead weight and sealed his own fate. He'd been wrong about so much, but mostly, he'd been wrong about me. I wasn't dead weight. I was a survivor, and I would spend the rest of my life making sure that word meant something powerful. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began, looking out at the faces of survivors and supporters. Let me tell you a story about a man who thought he could profit from his wife's cancer, and about the team of people who made sure he failed. And as I spoke, sharing my story to give hope to others, I felt nothing but gratitude, not for what Marcus had done, but for what I'd discovered in myself when faced with the ultimate betrayal. I had discovered I was stronger than I ever imagined, and that discovery had changed everything. The end. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.